Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
And Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie and I'm joined with my lovely co-hosts Sujoy and Amrita. Hey Sujoy, hey Amrita.
hey everybody.
Hello.
We are back with a new episode. We're talking about a few things, a few releases that came out. Me and Sujoy watched Yudhra last night and we didn't even tell Amrita. We didn't inform her that we were going. We didn't say, Amrita, you should watch it. It was just me and solo Sujoy going there and just sitting through it.
It was the night before, no? Was it last night?
Yeah, no, it was
Friday night.
Friday, yeah.
So it's Sunday now. So
yeah,
it was
true. Accuracy बहुत important है खानदान पे, right?
unlike Yudra.
And our main review is going to be Kick, Salman Khan's Kick, which is it me or has it gone like some sort of resurgence on Twitter? I'm seeing like quick Kick clips and things.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, I was like, is this my timeline? Because there's a Salman bias anyway, but like, what's going on? Is there? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's also like the algorithm playing with you, right? Because you've been watching it, so it like send like every content that you come across online will sort of circle around the hashtags and the metadata that you go through. So yeah, all those cookies are coming for you. Like the Salman cookies are coming for you.
As they should.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later. I want to hear first from Sujoy because you watched Sector 36 on Netflix.
आपको चॉकलेट पसंद है ना?
ये मेरे लिए?
हाँ बेटा, आपके लिए।
So Sector 36 is a Maddock production, I believe. It is sort of a fictional retelling of a very horrible, like really terrifying true story or true events, which were infamously called the Nithari case, which happened, I believe, in the mid-2000s in Noida. And it wasn't Sector 36 of Noida. It was, I can't exactly remember the specific details, but it was, it circled around the story or the true events of many children disappearing, and the serial killings revolved around it. And there were two main accused from those events. One was the rich person who owned this complex, and then his sort of help guy who was doing the majority of the serial killing, basically. And many years later, I think it was last year, so 2000, if it happened in 2006, it was 12 years. Is it 12 years ago? No. 18 years ago. So almost 18 years later, both of them have been acquitted by many courts. It's gone through many cycles of judicial hearings, and both of the accused are now acquitted on the basis of there are not
Circumstantial evidence
other than the accused confessing to the crime. And it's like horrendous, like all these kids, mostly little girls under the age of 10, disappearing, and their bodies being found in drains and all of that. And there is only one single adult who was one of the ones who disappeared, obviously killed by this horrendous man. And it basically comes down to, the incompetence of the entire system to handle such a an event in India, like the police, the judiciary, everybody involved at every single stage of the judiciary and the whole system the law and order system basically failing the normal population, especially the ones at the bottom of the hierarchy chain in the Indian society. It stars Vikrant, Massey and Deepak Dobriyal as the main protagonists of this story, the hero or the villain or whatever you want. There is no hero as such. It's mostly a thriller drama, and both of these actors have really played it really well. But it's definitely not an easy watch. Like what I've said now is not going to be easy for anybody to sit down and enjoy on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, But if you want to know like a fictional retelling of what happened in the Nithari case in 2006-7, I believe, it's available on Netflix. It's called Sector 36. It's well made. It's really well made. And especially there is one particular scene of the interrogation and how it unfolds. It's really, really masterfully done. And Vikrant, Massey and Deepak Dobriyal, they have really, proved their mettle in that particular scene.
Interesting. I had not heard of this case at all. So, I'm like, I think, if it is horrific, I don't know if but it's kind of cool that Vikrant, Massey and Deepak Dobriyal are getting these main leads in these kind of movies for Netflix. That's kind of cool. But yeah, it's kind of, if you're in the mood for that kind of stuff, right? Like, some people are. Is it like true crime-ish, or is it more like Silence of the Lambs-ish?
I wouldn't say it's like a cat and mouse chase and, the thrill of how the police figures it out. It's more like on a scale, like on the spectrum of, this is how the events unfolded, and it's more like a retelling of that tale. So I wouldn't say it glorifies anything or it's trying to justify anything in a way. It doesn't necessarily have a stance, I would say.
It's not sensationalist.
No, I don't think so. It's just like horrible things are happening. And,
Are you going to watch it, Amrita?
Probably, yeah.
Cool. The second thing, I mean, we discussed it earlier. We watched Yudhra.
मरने से पहले महाभारत का एक मशहूर किस्सा मैं आपको सुनाता हूँ। अभिमन्यु ने माँ के पेट से चक्रव्यूह में घुसने का रास्ता तो सीख लिया, लेकिन कभी चक्रव्यूह भेद नहीं पाया। काफी गर्मी है तुम लोग में, मैं भी थोड़ा गर्म हो लेता हूँ।
Sujoy, why did you suggest we watch this movie? This was kind of your idea? I'm just like why was this one the one you were like, so like let's go Friday? What happened? What was going on? What appealed to you?
No, you texted me saying, "Oh, Yudra is out this weekend," and then I was like, because we sort of managed to talk about the trailer when it dropped, like briefly, and then it disappeared from my memory completely until you brought up in that text, and I was like, "Okay, it's releasing," and like I had pretty much nothing to do, and we were like, from the trailer, I watched the second trailer then, and it really looked like they are capitalizing on the momentum of what Kill brought, like the action, balls to the walls action sort of a movie. And I saw that the Excel team is involved in the production, so I assumed that this would be a half decent movie, and we're like, let's go, Asim, and content.
So this movie is written by Sridhar Raghavan. It has dialogues by Farhan Akhtar. It's produced by Excel. It has,
music by Shankar Ehsaan Loy, lyrics by Javed Akhtar. It stars, Siddhant Chaturvedi, who's done some good roles. Like he's an up and coming actor, and I think the female performance is Malvika Mohanan, if I'm not mistaken, that's her name. And also the guy from Kill is in there, right? So it had propulsion, it had momentum,
and it is such a piece of shit. Like, it is so bad. It is so bad. Like, I don't know. Like, honestly, there was a moment where Sujoy and I thought this movie was written by ChatGPT or something like that. Like none of it made any sense. It's basically a story like there's been so many of, the guy is a psycho, but he has a good heart. Like we make a lot of these movies, like he's just going like bloody, and now I'm gonna, punch up 50,000 men, and like just because they did something, and now, but I'm a good guy, and I just need like a woman to hold my hand. So it's kind of that kind of movie, and I think Excel has just gotten a bit of a hangover from KGF, so they're trying to make these like macho action movie kind of things. And we thought that they just outsourced this, like to the B team.
Yeah.
But no, literally the A team was involved, and it's still not a good movie. It's really, really bad. I don't know, Sujay, what did you like it a bit more than I did, or
No, like you were next to me, and like 20 minutes in, this movie is still stuck in the origin story of how this kid and the whole lore of the Chipkali and everything, all of that. Like I told you, like this movie goes forever doing exposition that does not matter, and then the action scenes happen, and this is supposed to be an action movie, and it's so far it's so sparse in the action sequences as well, and that's not satisfying at all. And yeah, man, this movie was so disappointing on so many levels. Like it could have been saved at many stages, like in the scripting stage, at the filmmaking stage, at the editing stage even, or maybe a reshoot could have saved it. And watching this movie, it is quite evident that this was not cheap to make. And why then, just push this as like a half-finished product? It felt like a punishment to sit through this movie. Like how terribly made it was, how terribly... but also, like we sort of discussed this, that if the leads were somebody who had sort of a star momentum to them, be it Prabhas or be it Yash, this would have been a bigger hit, I think, because Siddhant Chaturvedi does not have that star power yet. I don't know when he will, but if he was of that sort of status in the box office circle, then this not having a proper plot wouldn't have mattered. But because it is Siddhant Chaturvedi, and because it is Raghav Juyal, and because it is Malvika Mohanan, the movie needs a lot more for it to be like a standout movie for us. Otherwise, this has pretty much nothing to say and nothing to show either.
I would flip it around though. I wouldn't say this is Siddhant's fault or the actors. I feel actually both of them are quite good. I think he's good in the dancing. He's good in the action. Honestly, the way it's shot is really nice. Locations are great. The costuming is great. The choreography is great. Performances are fine. Like they're doing well in the action sequences. But it's just that the story needed like at least 2 or 3 rewrites,
Yeah.
And it's really
I'm not blaming Siddhant. What I'm saying is, because the writing and the making is so sloppy, they needed a star power to sort of hide those flaws. I mean, because the story is so bad, the making is so bad, it's more evident when Siddhant Chaturvedi is in the frame,
Yeah.
Obviously they are sort of still riding the wave of KGF because the BGM is so loud. Yeah. It's one particular scene where the scene in Portugal where there is a fight in the music museum, and they could have really amped it up by just cutting the BGM and all the sound effects to happen with all the musical instruments that were involved in the fight scene. And there is a particular scene where the sidekick is getting killed by a flute, and he sort of chokes on it and the flute starts playing, right? That could have been so much more effective if the BGM was completely silent, but it was so loud and amped up. And
the moment doesn't hit, right?
Yeah,
you don't know if it's gruesome or it's comedic or what it's supposed to be. And a lot of these beats just don't work really well. But on the other hand, like they can only become stars if they are getting these chances, right? So it's kind of like chicken and egg situation. So
Make a good movie like Kill.
Yeah.
Both of the leads from Kill are now, they ride a sort of a bigger image because of the movie that made them.
Yeah.
But obviously, not every action movie that comes out of India can be Kill.
Yeah, Kill is unique and it has just very propulsive action. This doesn't. This is kind of standard masala movie, and then you have to cut for this song or that song and backstory. And those transitions are rough.
Yeah, they actually had that action sequence, and Asim told me like, "Abhi Gana hoega, abhi Portugal beach mein Gana hoega," and the Gana comes, and the Gana is shit. And then at the end of the movie, when the end credits roll, and you're like, written lyrics by Javed Akhtar.
That was the weird part, right? You come out of a movie with Excel producing, Farhan writing, Javed Akhtar, and like the music. I can't hum you a song of the movie. I cannot tell you a dialogue that was cool. Like I have nothing. So yeah, that just makes it a kind of a failure, right? Like it's a shame. And also the movie really wears its influences on its forehead in a way. Like Akira is there, and then you see the bike of Akira in the background. You have the shot
if you like manage
Born Identity twice.
Yeah. If you manage to escape any reference, like here it is again, repeatedly bombarded on your face.
So it really wears a lot of those. Now he's gonna wear a suit and then shoot like he's John Wick, that kind of thing. No reason for it, but it's gonna be out in Prime, Amrita. So if you feel we cheated you and you missed out, and we didn't tell you, it's gonna be out on Prime, and Excel is making their money out of Prime. Chuna laga ke.
Yeah, after that hard sell, guys, like how could I resist?
Yeah. Somebody yesterday, a friend of mine was asking me, like, can you recommend an Indian movie to me? Like, I haven't seen one in a while. And I was like, like you need to check who you're talking to. So I recommended Animal because I knew who I was talking to. And they don't have the context of the conversation going around.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, okay, watch it. And if you're getting bored because it's very long, just go to the interval point and watch the fight sequence, right? In the middle of the movie. And that'll be good enough. I can't point anything in Yudhra for you to go to that point and where Yudhra will win you over, And that's kind of what I'm saying, that it's just missing something and it just doesn't have that firepower, So, yeah.
I'm actually shocked by Asim betraying his one and only love, Vidyut Jamwal. I mean, wow. Like, Vidyut has like one fan, and that was Asim. And now Asim has like changed parties and has gone with the nepotism choice, Ranbir Kapoor. I did not expect this, Asim.
You wanted me to suggest crack jiega to jeetega. That's
the modern classic that you've been advocating for however many months it's been since it came out.
They did ask if it was on Netflix. Otherwise, crack jeetega to jiega was going to be my go-to for sure.
Weak excuses. Is this why Vidyut Jamwal had to join a circus?
Vidyut would have rocked in Yudhra, by the way. Like, I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about star power, he could have pulled this one out. Let's go to our main review. Enough of, superficial bullshit.
Can I quickly plug Kal Ho Na Ho that I watched yesterday?
Yes. Oh, you did? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think on the big screen.
That little independent movie that needs more, promotion at least.
I'm just mentioning it because I wasn't on the Kal Ho Na Ho episode when we did on the Khandaan.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Cheating ho gayi Sujay ke saath.
I think I was traveling or something many years ago. So I watched Kal Ho Na Ho yesterday. It was, I don't know how long this was, 3 hours something long movie. I did not like it at all. I know.
We didn't like it either when we rewatched it, actually. Like, we were like party poopers the entire time.
Like, I freaking loved the heck out of K3G rewatch the other day, and Kal Ho Na Ho did not vibe with me at all and in this rewatch. And I had not watched this movie in a very, very long time. I watched it when it was initially released on like a VCD print because I was doing my engineering then, and like cinema nahi ja sakte the tab. Or ja sakte the lekin gaye nahi, or something like that, and the VCD was whatever. But like it's gorgeously shot, but the drama around these three characters is just like only these three people exist in New York and they have to choose between these two people, right? Like Bechari Naina, she has only these two men to choose from, and like the whole manipulative angle between the romance between these two is just terrible. I like Shahrukh dying was sort of very like jokey in so many places, and the whole tragedy behind him passing away is not it did not translate to me. Like death scenes definitely get me, obviously, but this death scene seemed so cheapened and lighthearted in a way, and it went forever, and like and basically Sanjay Kapoor coming and revealing the whole spoiler was like, Sanjay, tu kya kar raha hai? The soundtrack is bomb though. The soundtrack is freaking bomb. Like, what a soundtrack, one after another. What else? Yeah, pretty much that's it. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it.
I
You
do
cannot rely on
enjoy the
Sanjay
fact.
Kapoor for your big twist.
No, I do enjoy the fact that we are having this re-release run going on right
Mhm.
now because we are getting to watch so many amazing movies.
Yeah.
We've had going in India. We're having the Kareena Kapoor retrospective, so we have that, and then there is obviously like Veer Zara and like all these movies are coming out.
I think
K3G actually what
Tumbad also had a
Tumbad was having a
and they
re-release.
announced that Tumbad 2 is being made right now.
Apparently, that's a little bit of a scandal because the writer director who made it, he's basically been sidelined for the sequel,
Oh,
and he's not going to be involved.
wow.
So it's just
I
Soham
mean,
and Adesh were like basically
okay.
doing it. So
Laila Majnu also got a re-release, I saw, and it
yes,
made more money than it did initially, which
yes,
I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
yes.
That is really cool.
So even Tumbad was performing better
Yeah.
this time around than it was in the first release. And of course, like things like Vizara are always going to be sold out. So
I also watched something where I don't know if you want to hear about it. I watched Houseful 3.
Re-released in your
Yeah.
TV in the
Have
living
you ever
room.
watched a movie for one joke? Sorry?
I just said re-released on Asim's TV in the living room.
I basically we talked about Shrimi Verma on Twitter, right? She posted one joke of that
Houseful
movie
3. Yeah.
about Ashok Fitness. Do you know this joke about Ashok Fitness?
No.
Okay. So I watched the entire movie for this one joke only. And man, that joke was so funny, guys. It was so funny. I was like, but the rest of the movie is such a piece of shit. But I'd missed it. I'd not watched this movie when it came out. I think it was back in the era with, where Akshay was just doing a lot of these movies that weren't like even on my radar. And Abhishek was also not like doing like great at that time, I think. So I just kind of like watched it for that one joke, which is still a good joke. And I think you should just go to Shrimi Verma's Twitter and watch it there where she puts the claymore, which is still hilarious. Don't watch Houseful 3.
I mean, this is like pretty much the reason why Farhad Samji has a career, right? Like, I actually went back to check if it actually was Farhad Samji, and yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah,
It is
yeah.
because Asim keeps giving them shout outs on Khandaan.
Yeah.
By the way, like I have not watched a single Housefull movie, by the way. So the whole memes from that universe is completely lost on me. And given that I see the whole list of cast members that are involved in this movie, it feels like a employment, agency for all these people.
But it's funny because they had as the girls they have Jaqueline Fernandez, Nargis Fakhri, and Lisa Hayden. And both Nargis and Lisa are hilarious in real life, right? Like you've seen their interviews, you've seen them. They're really, really funny women, and they have nothing to do. Like they it's just crazy that, you have a skill set as a performer and it's not used. You only are used as being pretty. And it's just such a waste for movies. Like, I don't know why they do that. They could have allowed the women to be funny, but the only thing they do is make fun of their language, that, because they're British born, they switch up certain words. And that was the extent of the joke. Even in the outtakes, when they show, the funny bits that happen, the only part they show is where Nargis Fakhri messes up her line. And that's not funny. That's just somebody, like 100,000 people mess up their lines, right? But that's the only part that they even put in the outtakes. So I was like, what the hell, man? That got me mad more than anything. But anyway, don't watch Houseful 3. Just watch the Ashok fitness joke. It's really funny. Shall we move on to our main review?
Yes, finally.
मेरी वर्दी पे मेडल बहुत लगे, पर दाग सिर्फ एक। पता नहीं कौन है, कहाँ है, सिर्फ उसका नाम पता है, डेविल। आप डेविल के पीछे, डेविल आपके पीछे। Too much fun.
Let's talk about some decent cinema, hard hitting, meaningful. We're talking about Kick.
So the IMDb synopsis of Kick reads, an adrenaline junkie walks away from a whirlwind romance and embraces a new life as a thief, though he soon finds himself pursued by a veteran police officer and engaged in a turf war with a local gangster.
Yeah. And this was a remake of a Telugu movie, right? Which I watched 10 minutes of and I couldn't watch the rest of it. I was like, I can't. So I was like really curious to see what appealed Salman to remake this movie when I was watching the original. But what can I say? This movie came out in 2014. It was a massive hit.
Yeah.
Like, it was up there with, I think with Three Idiots and stuff like that, right? Like, it was like, let me just pull up the numbers. Why am I unprepared today? Yeah, it was a massive, massive hit. And I was surprised to read that it was originally supposed to be made with Deepika. They ended up getting Jaqueline Fernandez, and it was also going to be directed by Murgados, who did Gajani. That was going to be his follow-up. And it ended up being Sajid Nadiadwala, the producer, who ended up directing this movie. Amrita, do you have any memories of Kick? Did you watch it in 2014?
I did, but the only thing that remained with me were the songs. Like those were like proper bangers, and Jaqueline, of course, is just like amazing as a performer. Yeah, that's pretty much all I remembered.
I was watching Jaqueline and I was like, man, this was the period she was really trying. Like, she was really, really trying. She was like full on, like, she's a very like bubbly kind of person anyway. Like I was watching a few interviews. She was like so happy to be with Salman. This was going to be the big one. She had glasses on. And I just want to say also, like, we had this discussion when we had Rahul on a couple of months ago now, for when we were talking about her. And I raised this point about, when did psychology and psychiatry become a thing in Indian storytelling? And I feel Jaqueline Fernandez did a lot for that, like, I feel if there is acceptance in cinema, she's basically the trailblazer for psychology in Bollywood.
Yeah. By being called Dr. Psycho.
Dr. Psycho, yeah. Sujoy, man, what did you feel of revisiting Kick? And I know that, surprisingly, you really, really liked Kick when it came out.
I was completely like, lehron mein beh gaya. It was like that. I was completely washed over by the Salman wave when I went to watch this in cinema. I remember this was 2014, so I was living in Croydon. I went to the View Cinemas there. It was a packed Friday night screening, and like, this movie did Salman fan service at its peak then, like what could have been done in 2014. And Salman is having a blast. Like, he has zero substance, all charisma in this movie, right? And he's like enjoying the heck out of it. He's doing so much silly Salman isms in this movie, and I was completely blown away by it. He like Bhai ko dekhna hai, and Bhai is giving us everything. Paisa Vasool movie. I didn't care about the movie at all. Like every single time he started dancing to Saat Samundar Par, people went nuts, and I remember that so vividly. Like revisiting that when I'm watching it by myself in my house is a completely detached experience from that, and then you start noticing that this movie does not hold up. But I still have very vivid memory of watching Kick at the cinema with the audience enjoying, and because you know the Bhai fandom, and I have been part of that in and out, with movies, and experiencing that with fans was something else, which I don't think even Salman can recreate now. I think when a movie like this hits, we all get a bit too critical, but for me, Kick somehow managed to cross that barrier.
What about you, Amrita?
What about me?
What did you think of rewatching Kick? Which was, sorry, I just want to say, I made a mistake. It was like the third biggest movie of the year. It came out with PK, Happy New Year, Bang Bang, Singham Returns, and the sixth was Jai Ho, apparently, which is crazy to me. But yeah, Salman was in a good period then.
It's insane to me that you think like Kick was part of a good period in Salman's career, because I literally, and also it has to do with the print that I was watching. I will admit that. Because I was watching this on YouTube, and that is not like a good experience for anybody. But literally, as soon as I saw that first like prologue kind of a thing, it immediately the first thing that struck me was like how cheap everything looked. And that never really went away. Like everything just looked incredibly tacky and cheap.
It's that Rohit Shetty Reddy aesthetic. Like it's so poppy. Everything is clear. There's no depth of field. It's really weird too. It's like an ad, like a Lux ad or something like that. Yeah.
But I watched it at the cinema when it came out, and yesterday I watched it on Enthusiasm because the YouTube print is crap. I remembered when I watched it, it was crystal clear. Like, बहुत पैसा खर्च किया है Nadia Dwala ने.
Yeah. Mine was like, crystal clear. Yeah. By the way, just to say also why I said this is a good period, because literally had Bajrangi Bhaijaan after this, Sultan, Prem Ratan Dhan Payo, and before this he had like Ekta Tiger and Dabang 2, right? So this is like, Salman was box office king at this moment. Like nobody else was, that's what I mean with a good period for Salman.
The one thing that I didn't know about this movie is that it was written by Chetan Bhagat. Apparently, Sajid Nadiadwala wanted, what's the name of...
Abhijat Joshi?
Yeah, Abhijat Joshi, who is like Raju Hirani's preferred screenwriter. He had wanted him to write the movie, but for some reason he wasn't able to, probably because he was handed a DVD and he looked at the DVD and he was like awesome, like he got through like 10 minutes and he was just like, no, I can't do this. So then Nadiadwala brought in Chetan Bhagat. Like, what? And let me tell you, like, this movie makes so much more sense now that I know that Chetan Bhagat wrote it.
Tell me why. I do not share the knowledge about Chetan Bhagat as much as some people do. So what makes this Chetan Bhagatish?
No, just the dialogues, the dialogues are like so terrible. The fan service, I know that Sujoy said that it really worked for him in context when it was released in like 2014 or whatever. But it seems really immature and childish now, like, and not in like a fun way, because sometimes Salman is like very childish and immature, but it's funny, and you are just like, oh, it's like, it's like a wink and a nod, and you're like, yeah, it's Salman. But that's not how it comes off in this movie. Like the climax shot, like the very last shot where, he's sort of referencing the bung, for instance. And they reference the bung like a couple of times, right, through the movie. But like in that very last shot, it's the last shot, and Dabangg itself was such a stylish movie when it came out, and it was so much fun. And putting that there at the end just made you realize all over again that this movie had awful dialogue and the plot was like absolutely non-existent, and it just brought the shortcomings of this movie all the more to the front, rather than like make you think of it fondly. And also the fact that like I've always said, like my problem with Chetan Bhagat is not that he's a bad writer, which he is. It's not that he writes for like poor people or whatever, which fine, that's okay. My problem with him is he's just bad at his job, and you can see that in that last shot, because he delivers the punchline and then he gives another punchline and you're like, what was that about, like it makes like, and then like he does this, and then the last shot, and you could tell that Salman also felt that it was bad because he tries to save it with a Salmanism by like doing that weird laugh. And I'm like, no, like that's not really doing anything much.
So I remember when this movie came out in 2014, and we were already on Twitter. We were already, I think there's even a U podcast review of this. I am pretty sure I reviewed it back in the day. And it was the first time where I went against the Salman fandom, because Salman was at such a high. And I remember back then I was quite positive about Dabangg 2, which I've literally never revisited. But I remember I was like, oh, Dabangg 2 is okay as in terms of a sequel. It's bigger and things like that. And Kick, I was like done. Bodyguard, Ready, and Kick. Those three were like massive hits. Salman Khan's fans were just like, Patahe Phodo, like celebration time. And any of those three movies just didn't work for me at all. And rewatching it now, it still doesn't work for me. Kick does not work for me as a movie. And it feels like a producer's movie and a lack of a director, right? It, like no single, like, and I can see that as a producer, he went all out. He got the best team that he could, right? At that time, he got like the best or the most popular playback singer. They have Yo-Yo Honey Singh in there. You have, you have locations, you have Jaqueline, they spend so much money. I was watching and even Salman, he does a lot of the stunts apparently himself, like all of those bike sequences where he's riding on top of the buildings. It's him doing that. It's crazy. And then even the building where he falls off the building in Poland, that's him falling down the building, which is insane to me, Salman doing this. And obviously because him and Sajid have a long-term relationship and they're good friends and things like that, he wanted to go the extra mile. So they really, like, even the bus sequence, they have a huge bus sequence, which is the longest bus sequence chase in the history of the world, because it actually goes 1,600 kilometers. Like, it starts in London and it ends in Poland. Like, I don't know how, like, do mulk ki police Salman ke piche padi hui hai. Half is like the British transport police, and then suddenly the Polish police is after him, and they end up in
starts
Warsaw.
in the Warsaw Museum, and then it goes to the bus which is going to King's Cross. Back to Poland. So it's back and forth.
And like he drives the bus around, and behind you see NHS Scotland. I was like, what is so?
Even the ads is like, radio in London, or listen to the radio. And, like, they didn't care about the accuracy or whatever, continuity.
Yeah, but they didn't care, but they spent the money. That's what I'm saying. They spent the money without care. But Sajid Nadiadwala is just not a director. He's clearly a producer, right? Yeah. And he can be on the set and he can give his input and things like that, but he has no directorial vision. And that's what the movie basically lacks, right?
Yeah.
And it really feels that way when I'm rewatching it. Where
I don't think he's made any other movie as a director, right?
No.
This was it.
Yeah, this was it. Or maybe did he not do one of the Tiger Shroff ones? I'm not sure.
No, I think he financed all the Baggies, but I don't think he's made any movie as a director after this. Yeah,
are his
that's
movies
the only one.
That successful? Sajid Nadiadwala's movie, like, because he spends so much money on these movies.
I
Yeah.
have
There
the
has to be like
same.
some.
Yeah, I'm convinced he's money laundering at some point.
There,
Like it makes no sense otherwise.
it makes no sense. Like he spends like all of his movies have such a grand scale. Even like Baghi and even Houseful was a Sajan Aryan wala movie,
Yeah,
right?
all the Houseful movies are his.
Yeah, like the third
Tamasha
one, they
was
spent a
his.
lot of money on that one too. Like it's a
Mhm.
lot of money they spent. And I remember Houseful 3 was not such a big success because it was the first non-Sajid Khan movie,
Mhm.
and it wasn't that big of a success. And if you go through all of the movies he's produced, they're not all like massive successes, right? Some are, but I don't know how he keeps spending this amount of money on these mediocre movies, to be honest.
Like if you go from 2020 onwards, there's the Baghi 3, Tadap, 83, Bachchan Pandey, Hero Panti 2, Satya Prem, Bawal, Chandu Champion.
Yeah.
And he's currently making Houseful 5 and Sikandar, right? But all those movies did not make enough money.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's floating.
Yeah. And he also had a lot of these Main Tera Hero, like those movies with
David
Sunil
Dhawan.
Shetty's son, and then the
Oh,
guy
okay.
that the other guy that was, what's his name, that Aditya Pancholi's son.
Suraj Pancholi.
Yeah, his movie also, like he's done a lot of these ones too,
Mhm.
where it's like, where did all of that money go? Like, what are you doing? But yeah, but Salman looks good though. Like I was still, I have to say,
Yeah.
like Salman looks good. He's clearly having fun, and he's so good in action also. Like like for like an older guy, like
Mhm.
there's a star power to be able to sell action.
Yeah.
And because we watched Yudra just before, right? And like Siddhant is physically fit,
Yeah.
right? Like fitter than Salman is in this movie. But there's a way of selling action, delivering a punch that these Salman, Shah Rukh, Akshay, Ajay Devgan have, that these new guys just don't have. The way like Shahid Kapoor cannot deliver a punch, John
Mhm.
Abraham cannot deliver a punch the way a Salman Khan can.
Forget punch. There is one scene where he slaps this one guy in slow motion, and I was like, "Ye mera Donley hai,"
I wish, man. I wish he
Yeah.
was Donley, man. Yeah.
But he's bigger than Donley to us.
Yeah.
It's just that he's not getting those movies anymore. Like nobody's making those movies in India.
Yeah, should we get into that? Like, whose fault is it? Like
Yeah,
like
it's-
it's Salman's though, right? Like it has to be. Like it's when people say, why is Shah Rukh not starring with a movie with Tabu directed by Vishal Bhardwaj? Whose fault is that? That's Shah Rukh's fault.
Yeah.
Like when Salman is not getting the Don Lee movies or stuff like that, whose fault is that? It's Salman's fault, right?
Yeah, because he can get it made if he
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I mean, his entire South remake career that he had, it was literally him arranging it. Like he'd like call in whatever director it was that he wanted to work with, and this is like actual like first hand like stories that I've heard through the grapevine, and I've had like people who know people have told me. But he's literally been like, "Hey, come hang out with me at my house," and then he's like, "Watch this movie with me. I think it's really great." And then he'll watch like a Mahesh Babu movie or something, and then he'll like take out the DVD, hand it over to the director, and be like, "Here's the movie that we're gonna make, buddy." And if the guy is like, "Yeah, let's do it," then they do it, and the guy's like, "No," then like they don't do it. He just goes and finds another person. So
Amrita,
like,
can you hook me up with that invite? I will do this. I will sit down with Salman, watch a movie, and make it for him that it works. I can do this.
so I think Salman. I think all the Khans at this point need to start thinking what their next like 10 years of their career is going to look like. Because their bodies are sort of like falling apart. And Salman's tired. Like we've talked about this before. Salman's tired. He's not as tired in Kick as he is now, but he's tired. So he needs to sort of decide where he wants to spend his energy. Because I don't think, Kabhi Sawt and Kabhi Saheli is going to be the way forward. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a viable career strategy.
But I still think that one was basically because he didn't get Inshallah, and he was like, okay, there's a slot open, let's make a movie in 2 weeks, and it still made like 100 crores, right? So who's the idiot then?
But
At the end of
that's
the day.
that's what really like pisses me off about Salman is that he has no sense of like what
Self-respect.
what his legacy ought to be,
Yeah.
right? Like both Amir and Shahrukh are really invested in how they're going to be remembered
Hmm.
once their careers are over. And Salman's just like, mujhe, like, I have to feed all these people, therefore, main bas kaam
Mm.
karunga. And I'm just like, you can't, like, you're Salman freaking Khan, like, have some respect for yourself.
It's him and Akshay both have that same mentality towards how
Yeah.
they work about movies, and I think Salman is still m- more beloved, than Akshay's.
I mean, that's not that's not hard, Asim.
Yeah,
At this
but
point, you
he
could give
seems to.
chicken pox against Akshay, and chicken pox would win.
But I feel Salman is doing even less. Like Akshay at least is doing a toiletic Prem Khatha. He's setting up a pretty decent cape of good films or whatever his production his company is called. He's
Yeah,
making he's making what was that Mission to Mars movie? What was that mission?
Mangal.
Yeah,
mom or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, whatever it was, like at least that is something. It might not appeal to me, but it's something, right? Salman, when he's producing Suraj Pancholi. Like I don't understand what the sense is of
Yeah.
those two things, and I think it's just he just has a weak team around him. Like obviously he cannot be the one in charge of producing and writing and wardrobe and everything else, but his team is weak, and I think the team is weak because it's people he knows.
Yeah.
And those are weak people, I think, unfortunately. But let's get back to Kick a little bit. I think, Amrita, you were mentioning this was kind of the height of the Southification wave in Bollywood, and that's kind of gone away pretty much. I think when it was happening then, like I think all of us were just like so done with it, right? Like we were
Hmm.
like, please, rok do, khatam, like.
I feel like the reason I don't think it's entirely gone away because like we still get like a Drishyam movie every time there's a Drishyam that releases in Malayalam, for instance. But I think a big part of why it went away is not because the audience was tired or that, like we basically convinced the producers that we wanted something fresh. I think it has to do with the fact that the audience changed and audience behavior changed. Um, I mean, there's been like a massive push in the South industries to release their movies up north, and like dubbed versions coming out and becoming
Hmm.
massively successful. And we saw that with Ala Vaikunta Puramalo, which is this Allu Arjun movie in Telugu that was remade by Kartik Aryan. And that was a movie where everyone was just like, oh, Kartik Aryan's going to be the next Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, not everyone is like Kartik Aryan's PR that was saying Kartik Aryan's going to be the next Shah Rukh. And it bombed. And it bombed because of audience behavior. It wasn't because they did anything massively different from like, the same strategy that, say, Salman was pursuing for years very successfully. Um, and everyone that saw the remade version said that it was actually a very competently made movie. It wasn't even that. It was just that audiences up north have the access to original southern versions in a language that they understand, so they're like, why would we pay twice? But also because social media campaigns have gotten so nasty at this point that I remember, again, coming back to this exact movie, people were trying to actively tank it at the box office by sharing links to the original Telugu film. And like that's a kind of behavior that I have seen repeatedly for remakes, where people are just like, well, why are you remaking this film? It's like, and then also the fan bases for the South actors who originally performed in those movies, they get really mad for some reason, and they see it as a slight against their favorite hero, because they're like, well, my hero was so good in this movie. Why is it that you think you can do better? I'm just gonna, somehow screw you over to show my loyalty to. And that's not how Mahesh Babu fans thought back when Salman was remaking his movies, like Wanted and whatever. So I think like audiences have changed. It's not that anyone's particularly listening to us when we say, like, hey, maybe go for original content. I think this is basically petering out because it's not economically feasible for a lot of these remakes.
Yeah. I think also like these stars, like I think you mentioned it, they're now household names in North India too, right? Like, and that wasn't necessarily the case when the Mahesh Babu things were happening. Where Prabhas now is, Yash is. People have seen those remakes, and I think streaming helped. I think the pandemic also helped a lot of these things, where it's just not possible.
For example, a Pushpa is probably going to be the sequel is going to be the biggest movie of the year.
Yeah.
And I don't see a Pushpa remake in Hindi ever happening.
Yes. Yeah. And that would have been a perfect movie to remake.
Yeah.
Like that, like back in the day. And also we say, the Southification wave started with Wanted. I think it was always there. Like they were always being remade, but there was this period of 10, 15 years where it was just like everybody from Shahid Kapoor to, Salman to Amir, everybody was kind of remaking these movies and making them like a big, I don't know if Shah Rukh ever did though. Like, I don't think Shah Rukh ever stepped on this wave. Maybe he should have. That was a bad period for him.
But he took the Chennai Express route.
Yeah. But again, it was not a remake, right? It was like it was just an abhorrent insult to the South, but it wasn't a remake. And I think this is also the problem that I have with Kick is that it is for Salman, this movie, because I don't know the original actor. I think his name is Ravi Teja, if I'm not mistaken. I just feel from the 15-20 minutes I've watched, for Salman to take on that role, it feels a very like an ill-fitting suit. It doesn't work well with the kind of persona Ravi Teja is and the way Salman is, right? Like there's a moment where Salman has to beg Nawazuddin for money, and there's a moment where he has to take on this MLA, and all of that just never really works for me. His breakup scene with Jaqueline doesn't work for me. They never define what a kick is. Like he's always about talking about this kick, but they never really define what the kick is. Like, what does he get out of it? Is it like orgasm? Like, what are we talking about exactly, right? And that just feels like a constant ill-fitting suit for Salman to me. Like he shines when the action is starting, when like these bigger pieces are happening, because those weren't there in the original. The original is quite like a small budget kind of movie. They really threw money at this, where they even add like a whole animated sequence in this where there's like a cartoon Salman. And have you seen that meme that goes around about like how South movies sound in Hindi? It's like Surya hai wo.
Yeah.
This movie has exactly that sequence where they're talking about Salman, gaon ka mukhiya hai wo, It's so hilarious.
माँ के पेट से सीख के आया है. मूतता है तो उल्टा मूतता है. What's happening, guys?
Yeah, and it's literally that sequence that is memeified is in Kick, and it's like,
I think the video is called Every Goldmine Movie Ever or something like that.
I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. But it was like, this is that movie. This is exactly what they were trying to do. But I'm kind of glad that time is over though. Like I'm happy that it's not happening anymore, even though the movies aren't maybe making as much money anymore. You were laughing, Amrita, at the breakup scene. Were you not heartbroken when Jaqueline and they just can't make it work, Amrita? They just can't. Life and circumstances,
The fact that he basically says, if you want somebody who's not broke all the time, then that man ain't me. He's like, I'd rather die than like get a job. Like,
Yeah.
you need
But
to
then
go.
Showing up at 8 a.m. That's
Yeah.
not me.
But then the very next line he says, I will decide that my next source of kick is going to be making money. And then he walks out like, what the heck was that? Chetan Bhagat, guys. Chetan Bhagat.
It's your fault, woman. It's your fault. Chetan Bhagat, written by Chetan Bhagat.
Oh,
Yeah. So you weren't feeling it, Sujoy? You weren't heartbroken when these two very old people could not make it work?
No, one old people and one very young people.
Jaqueline is baby, man. She looks like such a baby in this movie, right? Like
I don't think she's a baby. She's babe in this.
she still is, man. She's like a amazingly beautiful woman. Yeah.
but my God,
That
she
whole-
cannot act. Like, she cannot act.
Who cares, Amrita? She's
You are the
dancing-
problem, Sujoy.
She's dancing like she's Beyonce in Jumme Ki Raat Hai. That one
true.
scene.
Yeah, she's
Oh my
dancing
God.
very well.
Oof, what a dance.
And also, she's promoting psychology, Amrita. Like, she's doing good work, Like, what are you saying? Like, which psychologist would wear, like, a mesh red lace dress to go do a psychology session in an underground tunnel? That requires commitment to the art of psychology.
She brings him home. She brings him home to repair him.
Yes.
Mera mareez hai.
Mera hai.
I love the way that she explains it to, again, Chetan Bhagat, Jai Ho, Jai Ho. She explains it to her dad, and she's like, like, he went away and he forgot everything. Ye kaise ho sakta hai? I will make him remember.
I will
and
make
then
him.
I will marry someone in front of him.
Yeah. Like Chetan Bhagat's love has so much khunnas in it. It's like badla wala love hai. Like all sides. Like it's all very violent,
And one of the most amazing behind the scenes thing, I don't know if this is true, but I saw it on Wikipedia because Asim kept plugging Wikipedia for this movie. And one of the things that I learned is that apparently Salman made Jackie learn Urdu for this movie. And apparently he was like, you need to learn Urdu to properly say Chetan Bhagat's lines, you guys. It's very important.
I was just thinking, Salman just had this person on speed dial. Like he just had one. Like, I have a really good Urdu speaking teacher. How do you have one?
मेरे गर्लफ्रेंड सब उसके पास जाते हैं.
But I was gonna say, like, imagine if Katrina did this role, though. How she would have pulled it off. Like, all of the complaints we have about Jaqueline not being I was just imagining if I could AI Katrina into Jumme Ki Raat. Not that Jaqueline is not doing a good job, but Katrina in it, oh my God, that would be 10 levels up.
Why didn't she do it? Is it because
They
they
broke
just
up?
broken
No,
up?
this was their broke up time.
No.
I think I'm not
What was
sure
Katrina
about the
doing in
timeline.
2014? Let me pull that up.
Yeah, you pull that up. In the meantime, I did live the only because this is also comedy, right? Like, were there any sequences that made you laugh? I
No.
just have one that made me laugh. Is when, and it's a Jaqueline joke. She comes in and she says, "Main Shaina auntie," and the lady goes,
Yeah.
"Shaina,
No.
Shaina auntie." That was the only thing.
Archana Puran sings this. Shaina, tu auntie? Like, why are you introducing yourself as an auntie?
That was the only funny joke that I thought was that made me
Yeah, I
laugh.
think I wrote that down as well. So in 2014, Katrina had just come out of Dhoom 3, and 2014 she had Bang Bang. 2015 she had Phantom.
Yeah, so they were broken up, nah, at that time. Then, yeah, I don't know their dating timeline, to be honest, but yeah.
So I remember one line when the promotions for this movie was released, and that was "Aap devil ke piche, devil aapke piche, too much fun." And the way Salman says it, I have too much fun watching that particular line. That's amazing, and I cannot negate like the presence of Nawazuddin Siddiqui's hamming in this movie.
It
Like,
is so like I'd forgotten that he was in this movie, and then he showed
Yeah.
up, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's right.
And I think he got the most praise from critics at that time. Like, look at him, he's doing this, and it didn't work for me at all. Like, I'll be honest. Like,
no. It
But
was
also, I
such
think,
a
This is
grating
as
off-pitch performance.
this is as Sonam Kapoor said iconically on Coffee with Karan. If you're an ugly person, they will give you critical praise.
oh my god, I think Nawaz had on a high at that time, right? Like
Yeah.
critically, and he's not in that space anymore. Like his career is not where it was. He was like the next Irfan Khan, right?
Yeah, in
at
the
that
making.
time, and that's not panned out the way it has. It didn't work for me at all this time.
I don't know why they had that character in this film. Like there was
Yeah.
like no reason for that character to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, there is like the whole Bachi angle and the revenge against the.
It could have been anyone. Like it didn't have to be
Yeah.
this evil mastermind who's like going around like killing children. Like why? What is that about?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it
there
was-
is a lot of what is that about and why in this movie to just pin down on Nawaz though. Like there is that whole final action sequence that's happening in a den where Nawaz gets thrown into the wall and he gets
Yeah.
electrocuted.
That was the only realistic part about this movie, because when Salman throws Nawaz, he throws him like 50 meters in the sky. And I'm like, yeah, that's realistic. If Salman would throw Nawaz, that's how far he would land, you know? Like, but we have not talked about Randeep Hooda yet.
Yes.
And I have this question about you, because the framing, this movie has a framing device, right? Like this is art, right? So they're basically talking to each other like they're, Julie Delphi and Ethan Hawke in Before Sunrise. That's what
Yeah.
it's obviously trying to do, right? They're in a train.
Asim, you need to explain to the people.
They meaning Ethan Hawke and Julie Delphi?
No,
Randeep Hooda
Yeah.
and
And
Jaqueline.
Jaqueline,
yes. So
Fernandez.
the movie starts when basically she's already sad and wearing glasses because they've broken up with Salman, right? And the glasses show her that she's sad. Like, I'm wearing glasses because I'm sad. And the father says that, Kallu Mama says, meet this guy, marry him, and this and that. And they're like on a train journey together, and then they talk to each other about their previous past. She talks about, the love she lost in Devi Lal Singh, and then he talks about devil that he's chasing. And I was like, hey, what is the timeline of these two stories? I couldn't figure that out, because how long has he been chasing devil, and how long has she broken up with, like when did he become this international Dhoom 3 type mastermind, where he was doing these massive heights? And you see it then in the flashback. Like, I was watching this movie, and there was like, it was going on and on and on. And I was like, 20 minutes left. And I was like, we still haven't gotten to the point. Like, when did he become the devil? Why did he become the devil? And all of that is wrapped up in 15 minutes. Flashback goes is like this little girl, Jhumki, that was like, begging for money throughout the movie. And he had this relationship. And obviously, Salman's whole motivation is to save children, because that's Bajrangi Bhaijan. And these parents, she has cancer, and then they just jump off a building and leave her in an orphanage. Like, I don't understand even who wrote this
the
crap.
suicide note reads, "We could not help her whilst we were alive. Maybe in our death she will find help."
Like, because Indian society is known for let's say, helping people, like little children in the street. Like, I didn't understand
It's just, Chetan Bhagat plot device.
Yeah. And I was like,
or
okay,
maybe the original Cake does that as well, I guess. I don't know.
So then he's basically devil, because he's gonna first hunt down these 5 people that made fun of him and didn't want to give him funding. Oh yeah, Amrita, you didn't know that? I'm like, the people that he hustles at the start are the 5 people that gave him the 100 rupees, and then also said that, if those are the people that but then he also is going after the election fund, and Ishan ke papa is in charge. Like, there's a lot of things going on there.
No, he then discovers it's not just Jhumki. There are a lot more children who are going through the same condition of not having enough funding for medical.
And it's a complete surprise to him that there are other children in the world with illnesses. He's like, yes, sab.
Yeah.
Abhi to election fund lutna hi padega.
And it's the most exploitative sequence ever, because you have these poor disabled children having to clap hands, and they're like shots on their disability. And I was like, oh my God, man, that's like horrible to be filming it this way, you know?
Yeah.
But that's basically his motivation, why he became the devil. But they also have like this kind of weird bromance going on, Randeep, Hooda and Salman. I think they have more chemistry than
Salman
either of them
Jaqueline.
has with Jaqueline, to be honest. It's really weird. I couldn't like put all of those jigsaw puzzles together. Like, what's
and
like
I still don't know, even with the last frame of them sharing this screen space as quote unquote, partners in crime, like both are cops now. I still don't know whether they are in the same team, because
I don't understand the ending of this movie. I've watched it 3 times now. I don't understand I had to read on Wikipedia to understand the meaning of the ending. Shall I explain it to you if you don't know?
Please. Yeah.
So basically, Devi is now such a big scammer that he scammed his way to a police commissioner role.
Yeah.
And Randeep Hooda knows this, but he's not going to tell them because he's been demoted. And he's like, basically, now he's going to show you guys. And I did not understand that was what the movie was trying to tell me. I was like, initially, I was like, wait, he was a cop all along? Is this like a wanted situation? And then I was like, wait, has he become a cop since then? I didn't understand it. Like, it took me reading Wikipedia to figure it out.
Yeah, because it feels like after the final fight and then him becoming the cop, that final scene, it's pretty much, it seems like it's been just mere months in between those.
Yeah.
And how do you become a cop in months? It's just...
because if he's scamming, if he's scamming the department, how is he scamming it with his real name? The name is Devi Lal Singh on the badge. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So you have to become a cop, but then how does this work? There's this sketch about Key and Peele. I don't know, when they're planning a bank robbery. Have you seen that sketch? Where he's like, we're going to get in and we're going to, take on. And he's like, no. Alternatively, what we can do is we can go to college for 4 years, then we can apply for a job, and then every month they're paying us. Every month we get the money in our bank account. And he's like, wait, what? So I think that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, he became a cop now? That's how he's going to scam the system? I didn't understand it.
And apparently... Kick 2 is going to be made starting next year. Once,
I mean, they've been saying this for a long time, though. They've been saying Kick 2
I don't think
before
it's
the
gonna
pandemic.
Happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
So.
I just don't see it. Like, but maybe Salman gets like a harebrained idea again to do this kind of thing.
It depends. Yeah, if Jaqueline really needs a movie or something.
She does.
Yeah,
I don't know why she's like apparently now in a battle with Nora Fatehi. Like, it's like this. She's singing. Like, both are singing now. Apparently, did you see her clip on Instagram?
No.
Yeah, I mean, the Nora Fatehi thing is because of that guy that Jaqueline was dating that got sent to jail, and apparently he was also quoting Nora at the same time.
Ooh.
And Jaqueline got fingered as a suspect in his fraud case, and the police arrested her, etc., or questioned her or something. And Nora was also questioned but let go. And Jaqueline was like, why is Nora allowed to leave where, like, I'm getting jammed up? And Nora was like, you bitch. And they both, like, hate each other now.
Ah, that's why she's going after her. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, Sujoy, you should watch the clip. You'll appreciate it.
Okay.
What else do we have here? I think...
The music.
What did you think of the songs? We talked a bit about the songs, but...
Yep.
I kind of enjoyed them. I gotta say.
I really like it. It's a Himesh Reshammiya soundtrack. I think this is one of the last Salman Khan soundtrack which has the trademark Salman sound, I think. Like, we get the tiger theme, we get the Jab Pyar Kisi Se Hota Hai, hey, and then Janam Samjha Karo, perhaps, or O Jane Jana. These are like when Salman appears on screen, in a TV show, if that probably is the music. And Jumme Ki Raat Hai, that's such a soundtrack, like, that can accompany Salman's like off-screen persona, and I think that really complements him. I really enjoyed the heck out of Jumme Ki Raat Hai, but also Yaar Na Mile with Nargis Fakhri is such a bop. It's still, I was playing that all day yesterday. It's such a great. I hate the heck out of Hangover though.
I liked Hangover.
I don't like Hangover.
I was enjoying it, Hangover. I also like that Jumme Ki Raat has the two-shot Talli trope, like, he's dancing, 2 shots, and then like Jaqueline is completely, drunk and like dancing. It's like such a Bollywood party trope. Speaking of Kal Ho Na Ho, it had it also in Time to Disco, it's like one of those things, 2 shots, and now let's party,
Yeah. We have not mentioned Mithu nor Archana Puran Singh yet. I want to briefly mention that one scene where both the son and the father come back home drunk, and Archana Puran Singh is trying to pacify them and makes a whiskey peg, and she tries to lure Salman to drink the milk by the smell of the whiskey. That was just nuts. It was hilarious for me.
I gotta say, this movie, for people that are known to be drunks, this movie has really bad drunk acting. Like, all of the drunk acting is really bad. And again, like, speaking of Bollywood tropes, drunk scenes have always been like a big part of Bollywood movies, right? And I was like, why is Randeep, Hooda and Salman not be able to pull off a drunk sequence?
Or Mithun Chakravarti.
Or Mithun, like, this is like basic skill set. And I don't know why they was like, okay, ho gaya, this is good enough.
And it should have actually come very naturally too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people that are notorious to be known drunks, it was a weird one. Also funny that, retrograde amnesia was a thing. It's this whole plot point. It was like, there's these 2 things that they forced, like, in the retrograde amnesia is so good that he cheats a Polish Indian doctor to give a wrong diagnosis to Jaqueline Fernandez, who then just takes over the patient and takes her home, and which is insane to me. And then the other one was also this 15 minutes he can act like he's dead for 15 minutes, and then Salman is like, tu 15 minute tak mar sakta hai to main kitni der tak. I was like, what? Like, he's like, if you can fake your death for 15 minutes, how long do you think I can fake my death? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Is this a skill set? Is this some sort of machismo that I'm not aware of? Should I be training this? Like, am I not a man if I cannot fake my own death?
Yeah. But one last thing that I would like to mention is, the character of Devil is supposedly, carrying off this heist at very specific events. And at one point, he is supposedly going to carry it out on Eid. And that also brings back to this being, I think it was an Eid release when it came out. And that used to be such a thing. Like, the Salman Eid release used to be the annual event of the year for us. And obviously that's gone.
The pandemic screwed that up too, right? Like, that's another thing that the pandemic took away from us, is the Eid releases with Salman. I don't know what's. I'd love to, like, this movie is beloved by people. Like I said, I'm seeing a definite resurgence on my Twitter timeline about this movie, like clips and things like that coming back. Even the one, Sujoy, you sent me about, those people on a cycle that are. That was like the big shot, right? Like that cycle sequence, which when you look at it, it makes no sense. Why would you let go of the cycle after the train has passed when you're still in a chase? But anyway.
Well, he's sauntering off in slow motion, right? That's the high swag, man.
Also, he was doing all of his wheelies on his own. Like, Salman is quite like, he's a heavy fellow, like a lot of muscle he's carrying. But it made me think of in Angry Young Man, where Salim is saying, oh, Salman was doing wheelies on the parapet of the thing. I was like, that's insane to do that. But yeah, he still had the skills 10 years ago at least.
Yeah, I did. When we talked about watching Kick, when we went to watch Yudhra, Asim mentioned that this movie came out in 2014, and I did not believe that this movie is 10 years old. It's nuts. This came out in 2014.
Yeah, you can see it from the fashion most of the time, like the trouser in boot look was very 2014. Well, it was 2012. It came 2014 when Salman's designers finally figured out, oh, that's a fashion, because they're always fucking late. So it was not a good look, guys, especially for people with shorter legs. It's not something that should be done. It's quite horrific. But yeah, 2014, man. Yeah, Amrita.
No, I was just thinking that the whole time that I was watching this film, the only thing I could remember was, do you remember Sahil Razan used to do those
Right.
Which an idiot.
With the blocky shape, yeah.
these cartoons, and I think he did one for Kick. It must have been like one of his last ones, but I just remember like reading that and like laughing my head off.
Yeah. But no, I want to say, like, a lot of people still love this movie or love this movie. I'd love to hear from them. If we're just completely wrong, I can't imagine I am, because I've watched this movie twice now, and every time it's not worked for me. But I'd like to hear what you guys, if you were like Sujoy in 2014, if you still think this is a good movie, I would love to hear from you. Drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. I think this is it for this episode. It's enough talk about Kick. I don't think I ever want to watch this movie again. Sujoy, where can people find you online?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at 9e3k. And you can also follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast. Do check us out on YouTube. Khandaan Podcast is our channel because we will be dropping quite a lot of video essays and video content on there.
Amrita.
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ, and don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, where we will shortly be releasing our Kareena Kapoor essay.
I'm very excited to see that. Guys, did you see the Vijay Verma? I sent it to you guys. Oh my God. Like
the Kareena from Janeja.
What a star, man. What a star she is. It's crazy. Check out Vijay Verma's Instagram feed, where he shoots a BTS of Janejan. It's amazing to watch. Amazing. When you're on Instagram, leave us a comment, leave us a shout. We're there too. And thank you for listening. We'll be back with a new episode very soon.
Khandaan Podcast. Girl, you're my chum,